Hey, so about a couple of nights ago, I watched a cute short video of this Latin immigrant who is loudly praising our president, the US, and she's very expressive, kind of declaring her love to this country and why she loves this country. And there are two instances in her video which I thought they were very interesting, and I wanted to share this with you. So on one of those instances, um, she is addressing her haters and telling them that she doesn't care that they call her a whitewashed Latina because she's actually happy that she can make you believe that she's white. And I thought that was very, very interesting because she is very proud of kind of siding with the white Europeans of this nation, right? Which is not very commonly seen these days. And she's wearing this white personification almost as a badge of honor. Like she's happy that she can make you believe that she's white. um, it's this honor of being white. Um, and to me, this is not just one girl in the internet. I think this is a trend that we see with a lot of Latin immigrants that come here. They are, sometimes like even more Anglo than the Anglos here. Um, and there are a lot of debate online of, some of the other Latins calling them, racist and things like that. And it's interesting because there is a little bit of that in those accusations. Um, you know, the when you look back to Latin American history, you can see that uh, racism and colorism is something that has run throughout the history of the region. And then obviously the Europeans were the ones who colonized and settled and built all the structures. So, they were always perceived as the winners. So everything that was more of a European kind of look or descendant or heritage was always look up to and aspiring. And so I think that there's some of that also with these Latins that are, so vocally and enthusiastic about the Anglo culture, without judging their passion for it, because I am passionate myself too. I might have biases as well too. I don't know. That's not what we're debating here. What I wanted to debate with you is that I just wanted to make the point of these very kind of proud Latins that are very vocal about the country, the customs, um, and particularly about the heritage of the population. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because, as we have seen in Europe and their declining population, um, something similar happens in the US, where white Europeans are also becoming a smaller percentage of the population, often because these other minorities have birth rates that kind of like outpace the white Europeans. So my question is, how does the Anglo culture survive or expand when the people who originated the culture are demographically declining? And what my thesis is that perhaps the Anglo culture can survive and even get expanded with these new mestizo champions, with these new American hybrids that I call, who understand firsthand winners and losers better than anyone else, because that's kind of like Latin American in a nutshell. Is the law of the jungle, winners and losers. You're either on this side or you're on the other side. You can't be, kind of like in the middle. And so perhaps these people understand, kind of like these white European or Anglo, values, not as the oppression that it has been taught lately, but as something aspirational. And perhaps is that aspiration what can make this culture survive, especially with the birth rates that we are seeing today. So like the lady, this young lady is very interesting, because also in her, in her rant, there's a moment where she says, she loves everything about America, and then she specifically says, I love my spicy lattes, I love Target, I love the founding fathers, and I love the Constitution. So she puts forth completely different things in the same bag and mixes all together. And although it's like, it sounds like random what she's doing there, like spicy lattes with Target, with founding fathers, with Constitution, like how does anything relate with anything? Actually, there is some logic in there. She's basically, what she's praising there are two things that she's praising. She's praising the possibility of choice, right? The possibility to be able to choose something, that I think it's one of the things that she's praising. And on the other side, she is praising the possibility of treating yourself, of pampering yourself. In other words, the possibility of gratefulness, of being grateful with what you've done, with what you have achieved, with your hard work. Those two things are not possible where she's coming from, but they are possible here because of the host country, the system where she's being inserted in and where she's participating and being part of. So when she puts all of these things together, she is in a way understanding that her new possibilities are a reality because of the founding fathers, the vision that they had, the structure that they put together in and that they documented in a constitution. So she's understanding the full picture and she's just kind of like, in a way, summarizing it in these four different things. But to me, that is very important, because clearly she has contrast. She can see the benefit, and it's not only the benefit, I'm not sure benefit is the right word, but the benevolence of and the prosperity that this Anglo system brings versus the harsh reality where that Latin world where she grew up with. So she becomes this, defender, like almost like a warrior of the Anglo system. So again, as we go through and as this population decline happens in real time, who is going to inherit this system, these values? And we could argue different things. We can say like, well, is she really about cultural preservation, or is this all performance? It could be performance. Performance is something that is part of the Latin culture as well, but I don't know. That's, we'll have to see what comes out of this. What I think, though, is that there is a chance that these assimilated Latinos become carriers of the Anglo culture? And if that's the case, what does that mean for this country? Does that I think I will have to cut it here, but I will just leave you with that question. What does that mean for that country? Would that be?
I just scare you.
You did. Would that be the true values, or it's like purism versus mutation,
Mama,
basically at this point?
chocolate.
Thank you. Bye.